Thank you, Howard. Thank you. All right. Sustainable communities. I guess I can kind of preface this. My involvement in the Sustainable Communities Consortium program was as a fan. Actually, we've been following this and had not sat on any of the committee meetings, been involved, but it's being on the outside and being a regionalist, as many of you here are. In fact, almost all of you are regionalists just by virtue of showing up here at a regional summit. But those of us engaged in regionalism, either within our counties and a number of counties, as well as truly within Ohio and Northeast Ohio, is one of those initiatives that you can see a spark of opportunity here to work together, unlike we've ever done before. So as a board member, NOACA, obviously we were very supportive whenever NOACA's involvement in that. But come about early part of this year, I got drafted. In effect, a phone call, because I've been involved with some of the regional activities and some of the members of that, to chair the organization. It's kind of like being a Browns fan and all of a sudden being called down to coach the team. It's like, oh, okay, all right. I'm a fan. I know what's going on, but really, when you get down to the down and dirty, if you will, it's gonna take a lot of work and a lot of commitment. But what I find is, in working in the last several months as the chairman of the board, is that we've got a lot of dedicated people. We have a lot of opportunities, and we have a lot of people that are looking past their differences for actually opportunities for collaboration, cooperation, the bigger picture, recognizing that indeed we are living in Northeast Ohio. Now, sustainable communities is, as you look at it, and you can look on the internet, you can look even local publications, there's a lot of discussion as to what sustainable communities means. It seems it's, for some people, ends up being basically a code word for what's called Agenda 21, the United Nations taking over our decision making. There are those out there that truly believe that's where we're headed. Indeed, at least from my perspective and from those board members, we're nowhere affiliated or even looking at such kind of approach. What it really is looking at our communities and looking at development, sustainable development, and the definition being that sustainable development meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. And the main focal point is, in terms of sustainable development, is involving what I think the most important part of any initiative. It has to be at the community level. We have, if we look, our scientists or anthropologists and archaeologists are looking, our urban form, if you will, dates back to 6,000 years. So we have 6,000 years of the first development of, if you will, communities, of cities, of an urban form. And that's really what we're talking about. We're social animals. We require others to meet our needs. None of us can meet our own needs. It requires other family and friends and community. And we look to that. And we're very much focused on our communities. And it's just not about Cleveland. It's just not about Akron or Youngstown or Canton or Medina or Lorain or Elyria. It's about all of our communities and the surviving together, looking towards the future and working together, looking at our heritage, our common, if you will, at least geographically, the ancestry of the Western Reserve and the formation of towns. And in those towns, and even of our own form, but every major county seat has a town center. Most cities have a town center. Recognizing there's a public function, a common function, where people come together for a common purpose. We have our individual houses where we live, but there is something common. It's public space. It's where we convene. It's where we talk and discuss. There's a history of public debate in our town squares. So in effect, what we're talking about is strengthening our communities and engaging in that, using that process, using that town squares, if you will, in our communities in a larger context to focus not just on our own little silos, our own little communities, but looking broader than that, our opportunities that are before us. And some of those opportunities are driven by necessity. And we look at the economics, what's going on financially, we look at what's going on at the state level. Likewise, the decrease of local government funding and the initiatives coming about to, if you will, allow local governments to do more with certainly less. And we're being required to do that. So there's an opportunity here for the Sustainable Communities Consortium and the program to seek those out, to identify those and explore those, highlight the ones that regionalism is already going on in many ways. We may not realize it in our own little silos, but it is. but it's combining that force and that energy together in such a way that we can develop a plan, recognize it, and encourage that collaboration at so many levels. First off, we know that at the MPO level, we're sitting down for the first time on a regular basis with representatives from Eastgate, which is Youngstown. We have AMATS, which is obviously Akron and Portage County, and a little bit of Wayne County. We have Stark Regional that are involved in this. And likewise, we're reaching out to other MPOs, but be able to meet on a regular basis and talk about these kind of issues. So the Sustainable Communities Consortium grant, you can read about that certainly in the program, talks more about that. And we have with us today some panel members that will be able to explain a little bit better as to what the plan is. And there's an old proverb that a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. These are the people that are involved. Us being involved in planning, we kind of realize, yeah, nothing's perfect. And not going to be, but the better thing to do to plan is to start today. And that's what we're doing today, meaning in the context of the next 3 years. In a larger historical context, that's going to be just a wink of the eye. But here we have, critically, it's timing. As Mayor Jackson and I were just talking about that. You have those people with the spark, they're ready to go, and we have to fan those flames. But as we discussed, it's a matter of timing. And I think with the resources and the people we have involved in this initiative, now's the time. All the forces are indicating we need to plan better. We need to collaborate better on so many issues. So with us today to talk about this initiative, we have Hunter Morrison, Director of the Northeast Ohio Sustainable Communities Consortium, former NOACA board president, and obviously with the City of Cleveland, with Jason Segedy, who is the Vice Chairman of the Northeast Ohio Sustainable Communities Consortium, and he is Director of the Akron Metropolitan Area Transportation Study. And like us with today's kind of gives the academic and kind of like maybe the 10,000-foot level is like what's going on. And certainly an economist of great respect for many of us is Edward Hill, who's Dean and Professor of the Maxine Goodman Levin College of Urban Affairs at Cleveland State University. Now with that panel session, we have a moderator, Dan Melthrop, who has agreed, who is the curator of conversation of the Civic Commons, to kind of help moderate that and kind of have these individuals focus in on really what this means, what it comes down to as at our community level, individual level, as well as a regional level.